Hello guys and welcome back to Mystery Truth. The Bigfoot, Slenderman, and 5 of the most dangerous and monstrous humanoids out there. Beware. At times, the field of cryptozoology can be a violent one, occasionally a deadly one. With that said, let's have a look at some of the most dangerous monsters out there. We'll begin with the Nyalmo. You may not have heard of that one. It is however a form of Yeti, also known as the Abominable Snowman. The Nyalmo, though, is a creature that should not be approached, as legendary cryptozoologist Bernard Heuvelmans said. The Nyalmo are real giants, between 4 and 5 meters high, with enormous conical head, he continued. They wander in parties among the eternal snows above 4,000 meters. In such empty country, it is hardly surprising that they should be carnivorous and even man-eating. Heuvelmans asked of the Nyalmo, do they really exist, or are they just a myth? He admitted to having heard of accounts of Yetis with feet around 45 to 60 centimeters in length, but was careful to disqualify this by stating that the evidence is far too slender for us to draw any satisfactory conclusions. Possibly the Nyalmo are an inverted addition based on the belief that Yetis increase in size the higher you go. Now there is the equally dangerous beast, the Kushtaka. In 2014, one of the most intriguing Bigfoot-themed books was published. The author was Dennis Waller. The title of his book was In Search of the Kushtaka, Alaska's Other Bigfoot. This is an excellent read for anyone fascinated by cryptozoology in general, and Bigfoots in particular. Waller's title is not your average Bigfoot book, and that's not a bad thing at all, as the book demonstrates time and again. The Kushtaka phenomenon is not just strange. Simply put, it's very often downright too strange. We never ever find a body. The beast is seemingly impervious to bullets. There are reports of the creatures vanishing before the witness, and by vanishing, I don't mean that literally. There is, however, something very strange about the Alaskan beast. It has outstanding abilities, including the power to seemingly vanish and reappear at will, to shapeshift, to take on the guise of a deceased person, and to engage in telepathic communication. It can also manipulate space and time. Many might be inclined to relegate such tales and claims to the worlds of folklore and myth-making, and all without giving matters any degree of second thoughts. Now, Waller takes us on a fascinating journey that does not deny the legends and folklore that have become part of the Alaskan Bigfoot puzzle. It is, however, a journey that, to make its point, also encompasses silence. On this later issue, Waller delves deeply into the domain of string theory, quantum physics, and multiple dimensions. In other words, ancient legend may have been born out of a science that, to a significant degree, still very much eludes us to this day. It's also a science that spills over into the realms of shamanic activity, altered states of mind, the afterlife, and creations that very possibly feast on human life energy. Now it's time to take a look at the Wendigo, a terrifying thing that appears prominently within the lore of the Algonquin people, the most widespread and populated of the Native American groups, with tribes originally numbering in the hundreds. The Wendigo is an evil, cannibalistic, and rampaging creature with the ability to possess human souls and minds, forcing them to do their dark bidding. Humans have the ability to transform into a Wendigo, especially if they have emerged in cannibalism. Notably, in centuries past, those who were suspected by the Algonquin of being Wendigos were decapitated after death to prevent them from rising from the grave and going on slaughtering people-eating rampages. Many of the reports of the Wendigo are focused around large forests, freezing cold and wintry environments, and dark woods. In light of that, there is a theory that the stories of the Wendigo are the result of a distortion of real events involving Native Americans who were forced to resort to cannibalism when food was scarce in the winter months, and tales told to try and dissuade people from cannibalism by making them think that eating human flesh will turn them into Wendigos. Now let's look at Bigfoot. It's not every day that a United States president makes comments and observations on Bigfoot. But as incredible as it may sound, President Theodore Roosevelt may have done exactly that in the pages of his 1890 book, The Wilderness Hunter. The president, who was also a keen hunter and an avid outdoor man, told a story that sounds eerily and chillingly like a close encounter with a killer Bigfoot. An extract from his amazing, more than a century-old story follows. Frontiers men are not, as a rule, apt to be very superstitious. They lead lives too hard and practical and have too little imagination in things spiritual and supernatural. I have heard but few ghost stories while living on the frontier, and those few were of a perfectly commonplace and conventional type. But I once listened to a goblin story which rather impressed me. A grizzled, weather-beaten old mountain hunter named Bowman, who, born and had passed all of his life on the frontier, told it the story to me. He must have believed what he said, for he could hardly repress a shudder at certain points of the tale. But was of German ancestry, and in childhood had doubtless been saturated with all kinds of ghost and goblin lore. Roosevelt added, so that many fearsome superstitions were latent in his mind. Besides, he knew well the stories told by the Indian medicine men in their winter camps of the snow walkers and the specters, that is, spirits, ghosts, and apparitions. Finally, we are about to focus on a monster that first surfaced in very strange ways, and not too long ago, the Slenderman. Imagine the scene. It's the dead of night and you are fast asleep. Suddenly, though, things change radically and you find yourself far from asleep. You are now wide awake but unable to move. You are completely paralyzed. You try and cry out, but it's no use. Your heart pounds and your head spins chaotically. Worse still, you see hunched over in the shadows of the bedroom an 8 to 9 foot tall, skinny and emaciated creature. It is dressed in an old-style black suit, has a pale face that lacks eyes, a nose, ears, and a mouth. As for its arms and legs, they are almost like those of a spider, long, thin, and spindly. Rubbery, octopus-like tentacles protrude from its torso. They wave and flicker ominously in your direction. To your horror, the night fiend slowly moves towards you and leans over. Its foul breath makes you retch. It whispers that you are about to die, or that it is coming to take your soul. Maybe you will be its eternal slave in its forested ancient abode. Now in a state of complete terror, you finally manage to cry out and wake up in a cold sweat. The terrible thing is suddenly gone. You have just had a trauma and fear-filled encounter with the Slenderman. The Slenderman had a strange start. He began life purely as an internet creation, specifically the work of a man named Eric Knudsen. In June 2009, Knudsen, via the pseudonym of Victor Sorge, uploaded a couple of doctored photos of the Slenderman to the forum of the Something Awful website. In no time at all, others began writing and posting online their very own tales of the Slenderman. Short stories, blogs, novels, online games, chat rooms, and more soon followed. Then something menacing and sinister happened. People all across the world began to see the Slenderman, not just on the internet, not in novels or in the pages of comic books, but in their homes, in their bedrooms, in mysterious woods, in dreams that rapidly escalated into full-blown nightmares. The Slenderman came to life in the form of a thought form. All of the 5 monsters above are very different creatures. There is, however, one connection between them all. They should be avoided at all costs. Wow, is this a folklore? Do you believe in most of these ancient and terrible people? Do you believe that all these monstrous humanoids exist? Whatever you have to say concerning this, drop your comments in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much.